In this week's episode of our How to Full-Time RV series, we'll be circulating the serious scoop on how we handle travel days. All right, you ready to do this thing?
Sure.
You ready to do this thing, Gracie? Hi, kids. I'm Mike.
I'm Tony.
And this is our RV Sunsets. We are coming to you not live from the inside of our lovely Brinkley Z3100 that we full-time in. We do apologize, it's a little messy today because we got a busy week. If you look way in the back, there's a bunch of batteries charging for our big camera that we shoot corporate stuff with.
Also, it's spring break, so it might be a little noisy around here.
Yeah, there's kidlets everywhere. Feral RV children running through the RV
Everywhere.
park. I also want to welcome you to our series on how to full-time RV. This is the 10th video in this series, which means as of next week, I have run out of hands to count the videos on.
We're also running out of ideas.
We are running out of ideas, but we do have ideas for this week, and that idea is what, Tony Tao?
This week's show comes to us from a subject suggested by a couple of our viewers, which was Stephen and Tiffany. And we're going to talk about our move day processes. We'll cover some of the things that we do the day before we move, the day that we move, and then what we do when we get there.
All right, so let's get this thing going. Let's discuss what we do on the day before a move. When I was a kid, my dad used to have this thing that he referred to as the rule of the 6 P's. And the rule of the 6 P's is that proper planning prevents piss poor performance.
You know, my dad had that same rule, and I think it has to do with the Navy.
I think it does too, because both of our dads were in the Navy. Although my dad would tell you he wasn't in the real Navy because he was a Seabee. So this rule of the 6 P's applies about tenfold when it comes to RVing. For us, planning for a move starts the day before we move. The first thing that we do, or the first thing that I do the day before, is I look at weather. My go-to app for this is an app called Drive Weather, and it's available on the iTunes store and the Google Play Store. Things that I'm looking for are storms that could bring a large amount of precipitation, and of course, I'm looking at wind. So with this app, you can set your route, set your time of departure, and from there, it'll show you what kind of cloud cover, precipitation, temperature, and wind, both sustained and wind gusts, that are going to take place over your route. It can also show a radar plot if there is precipitation in the area.
So how much wind is too much? So we've driven in 35-mile-per-hour winds with wind gusts up to 45. It wasn't optimum. It didn't feel good. It didn't feel comfortable. It's very stressful to drive in the wind. But get to know your rig and your comfort level, and don't ever exceed your comfort level.
Yeah, for us, if winds get over 40 miles an hour, we'll look for a way to extend where we're at.
It's just not worth putting yourself at risk, your home at risk. We've never found a spot that wasn't able to extend us due to weather situations.
And if it is windy, there's a good chance that somebody that's coming in that day has already called and canceled.
That's a good point.
So you'll wind up with a spot. So now that weather's out of the way, let's take a look at routing. So we use RV Life Trip Wizard to plan our routes, and we use it as our main GPS along the way. We actually did a video in this series about route planning. I'll link that over here. In addition to RV Trip Wizard, you need to use some type of secondary GPS, both when you're en route and to check your route the day before. We use Google Maps. Since Google Maps has data that's a little more real time, you may discover road closures that aren't shown on RV Trip Wizard. This happened to us last year driving up to Yellowstone. RV Life Trip Wizard wanted to take us a southern route. When I checked Google Maps, it turned out that that route was closed down due to wildfires. So definitely check your route on 2 separate apps.
So the next step is to look at possible stops that you're going to have on your way. Like if you need to pick up groceries, if you need to get fuel, if you know a certain place that you want to eat. RV Trip Wizard allows you to turn that on when you're on the computer. It allows you to go in there and turn those on so it shows up on your route.
Yeah, it'll show things like truck stops. It will show Walmarts. We also turn on rest areas just so we have an idea of where the rest areas are. Now keep in mind, this is only on your computer. I have not found a way to get this turned on when you're looking at it on the phone. We try to hit truck stops, things like Pilots, Flying J, and Loves. Most of them have food as well, so you can kind of kill two birds with one stone. You get a twofer. If you have a diesel rig, you'll find that the pumps at these places are going to be the same pumps that the big trucks go into. That has a couple advantages. One, they're going to have tall ceilings or overhangs, so you're not going to have to worry about hitting anything when you go through. Also, the truck pull-throughs have larger nozzle diesel fillers, so you're actually going to be able to fill your rig faster. Now, if you have a gas rig, pay attention to Flying J's, because Flying J's actually have, not all of them, but a lot of them have RV pumps. And these RV pumps are going to be wider in and outs. They're also not going to have an overhang over the top, so you don't have to worry about vertical clearance.
So once you've decided where you're going and you're on Google Maps, you can zoom in and you can do the satellite view and you can actually see the whole area. Here's an example of what we did in Barstow. If we look at Barstow, California, we can see that there is both a Flying J and a Pilot. And while either would have been great for our diesel rig, you can see from this view that the Flying J does have RV pumps that are great for those gas rigs.
Also keep in mind that the Google Maps Street View is available on your phone as well. There is plenty of times when we're driving somewhere and I'll ask Tony to find a place that we can go, we can pull over to go potty.
And or to have lunch.
Or to have lunch. And she'll get on her phone, go to that Street View and find a large parking lot somewhere.
So the last thing we do on pre-travel day is no partying.
True.
You want to be feeling your best on travel day. Travel day is long. Travel day can be stressful, and the last thing you need is a hangover. So the day before you travel, just take it easy. Hydrate yourself. The other thing we do before we go to bed is we set expectations with each other. We set expectations on what time we want to leave, what we expect our morning to look like, if we have any errands that we have to do, like if he didn't get gas the night before, he has to go in the morning.
Which brings up a very good point. Fill up your rig the night before. I try and do this with diesel and DEF if we need DEF. We have a 50-gallon tank on our truck. If you're purchasing a truck for a towable, I would highly, highly recommend that you do the same. It gives us enough range that we really never have to fuel when we have the trailer hooked up.
For me, inside the rig, I like to make sure all the heavy lifting is done. I like to make sure all my laundry's caught up. I like to make sure all the dishes are washed the night before so I don't have to deal with that in the morning. Prep a meal for dinner that night because, after a long travel day, you just really don't want to spend a lot of time cooking. You just want to relax. I'll also go through all the cabinets, just kind of double check to make sure any liquid that you've opened, like oil bottles, balsamic vinegar bottles, any cleaning bottles, make sure you close them. Sometimes we're in a hurry and we're cleaning things, we forget to close things tightly. I like to double check that because I think they can do more damage than anything else. Oftentimes, travel day can be so tiring, so I try to make that day as easy on myself as I can.
And speaking of travel day, let's move on to what we do on travel day.
So travel day is upon us. First rule for us, and it's a rule that a lot of RVers follow, and there's a reason why. We try to keep our travel days to no more than 4 hours. The most we allow ourselves to drive is 6 hours. That means if we are changing locations that is farther out of that range, we'll just break it in half and we'll find a situation like a Harvest Host to go to. Harvest Host is a membership that you pay for once a year that allows you to reserve a spot in places like museums, like breweries, wineries, farms, with the caveat that you'll go in and you'll give them somewhere between $20 and $30.
And what does it cost to stay there overnight?
It doesn't cost anything because you're doing that donation or you're doing that purchase a product from them, which is awesome.
And we are an affiliate for Harvest Host, so if you're looking to get a membership, in the show notes is a link that will give you 30% off of your membership. And there is a couple different levels of membership, just know that as well.
We have pimped the Harvest Host.
While we're not going to go into our full teardown and setup procedures in this video, just know when it comes to tearing down, I tend to handle the outside stuff. Tony tends to handle the inside stuff. Ooh, there's a puppy walking by. You talking to the puppy?
Talk to the puppy.
Talk to him. Good girl.
Don't bark, just talk.
We know Chihuahuas bark, so we gave her that instead of a bark. The one thing that changes from my normal teardown procedure, if we're going to be staying at a Harvest host, I'll add water to our fresh tank. Now, we normally travel with about 20 gallons in the fresh tank, just so we have some water to flush with and to wash our hands with. But if I know we're going to a Harvest host, I will up that to 40 gallons in the tank, and that way, that's plenty of water, enough water for an overnight and a couple of showers in the morning. One side note here, with our Brinkley, there is no issues with traveling with water. We've traveled with full water tanks. Brinkley says that's fine. But if you have another type of rig, check with your manufacturer, see what their recommendations are as far as traveling with water and how much you can travel with.
On top of my normal teardown and setup procedures, I put the snack bag, I put Gracie's bag, I put things of water, and I make sure I have this little medicine bottle in my purse that has Advil and antacids because we're old and we have to take care of aches and pains.
Yes, we do.
Snack bag. This is very important because honestly, I don't like to eat fast food.
Yeah, I don't either.
So in my snack bag, I like to put things like Kind bars, some fruit, wraps because they're easy to eat when you're driving, turkey, ham, tuna, whatever.
The one thing Tony didn't mention that goes in the snack bag is Gracie's favorite snack.
Yes, Costco has these meat sticks. Those are great for the road.
We tend to always have those Costco meat sticks with
Every
us.
time I go to Costco, I buy the meat sticks. Sometimes we'll eat while we're going down the road, but sometimes we're in such a beautiful place that we saw, you go to certain states, they have these roadside picnic tables and everything, and take the time to stop there and sit there and eat and look at the view because sometimes it can be so stunning.
Yeah, there was a place in New Mexico that we stopped once that was
The Valley of Fire,
that had all of this like lava rock looking stuff. It was super cool. And we just stopped there and had a picnic there.
Keep breakfast simple and light. You don't want to stuff yourself and then go sit in the truck for a bunch of hours. A lot of times I'll make a one-pan quiche where it's just a pan, a tortilla, and the eggs in it, and then I can actually eat that while I'm working around the trailer and closing things up.
So one thing that I had anxiety about when we first started RVing was stopping for bathroom breaks. Having a towable means that you have to find a place to pull over so that you can use your bathroom back inside your towable. I can tell you that that anxiety was completely unfounded. We've always been able to find a spot to pull off and use the bathroom in our rig, no matter where we've been. We've done rest stops. We've done wide spots in the road where you can just kind of pull up along the curb. We've done truck stops. We've even done larger parking lots inside of a city. We one time even wound up in an abandoned mall lot in Los Angeles. If you're worried about this too, don't. We really have not had any problems finding places to pull over and use the bathroom in the trailer. Okay, now let's move on to getting to your destination. What are some tips that make your arrival easier?
You're done for the day, you've come in, you've set up. What do you do then? If you're at a Harvest host, take that time to go into the Harvest host. We find this is a great way to meet new and interesting people, especially if it's a Harvest host that hosts multiple people. Keep it tame. Remember, you're going to travel another day, so don't get too crazy at that winery or brewery.
Don't be like we were in Dundee, Oregon last year.
If you're at your final destination, make sure you've planned something easy to make for dinner because you're gonna be tired. Many times for us, it's burgers on the grill.
Smash burgers.
Sometimes it's even breakfast because breakfasts are easy to cook.
I love breakfast for dinner. We do that all the time. If your final destination is an RV park, there's a really good chance that they're going to ask you while you're checking in what your license plate on your vehicles are. So pause this right now, get your phone and go out to your rig, take a picture of the license plate on your rig and take a picture of the license plate on your other vehicle. That way, when they ask you for them, all you have to do, look them up in your phone and give them your license plate number.
Be sure to take it out of the photos and put it in a note on your phone because because scrolling through all your photos, you're going to have lots of photos because you're adventuring. But if you put it on a note that you can easily access on your phone, and then you'll just know where it's at every time.
That's an interesting way that she does it. What I do is I just have an album in my iPhotos application that's called license plates.
Probably the most important thing to do is have your setup beer.
Yes. And then the other thing that we've done is we always sacrifice the setup beer to a god of RVing.
If you're an RVer, are you superstitious? Do you have superstitions? If you do, leave a comment down below. Maybe we can do a whole show on people's fun and weird superstitions.
Now, keep in mind, we understand not all RVers are drinkers. Some of you might be non-drinkers, so you can absolutely sacrifice a cold or warm, non-alcoholic beverage to the RV god of your choice. If you can find one of those old oil cans of High C that you used to have to open with a church key, I'm sure the gods will definitely show you favor for that one.
Cheer to each other that you've had a successful and fun and stress-free travel day.
And it also means that no bad luck's going to happen because we're superstitious, because we're RVers, and so are you.
All right, so that brings us to the end of this episode. What do you think we're going to do next week?
Next week, we're going to wrap up the series with a show that was suggested to us early on in this series, and it was suggested by Mike and Shelly Kay over at Campin' with the Confers. It was such a good idea that we've kind of been sitting on it until we get to the wrap up. And that idea is, if we had to go back and start this all over again, what would we do different? So we will share with you all of the things that we would have done different.
If you got any other suggestions on any full-time RV information you want or need or we haven't talked about, let us know and we'll research it and share what we do.
Yeah, just because, next week's going to be the wrap-up doesn't mean that we can't add to it in the future. So if you have ideas, please put them in the comments below and we'll add that to the series. Before you go, I want to ask that if you got something out of this video, please feel free to like it, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, leave us a comment down below. And if you want to be notified when our next video comes out, just hit the notification bell. All right, let's get the heck out of here. We will see you next week.